I am Nathaniel P Hoot-Whistle, son. And the other day, I was taking my booze in my bar, and I heard this knock at the door. And I thought, who's this, son? I'm not expecting anybody, and I thought my bar doesn't open until tonight. I thought, is this someone coming to cause me some kind of grief, some kind of trouble? So I opened my door, and then there was this guy standing in front of me that I recognized that I hoped I'd never see again. And he said, Mr. Fortescue told me where you live. And he said that I should come round and apologize for all the trouble I caused you when I decided that I was going to kill you last time we met. I couldn't believe it, son. There's that British son of a bitch that talks to the goddamn chair and has imaginary friends, and somehow he found me. I don't know how this guy found me. But I don't know how to take that, son. And then he said, maybe I come inside and I'll discuss things with you. I brought Mr. Fortescue and Mr. Marmaduke with me. They're most apologetic as well, because they both wanted you dead. And they both like to make amends in some way. And so would I. And before I could say anything, the British son of a bitch just walks in and sits himself down in my chair, bold as goddamn brass, walking into my bar like he owns the goddamn place. And he wants me to come. He invites me to sit down in the other chair, as if it's his place. So I couldn't believe it. So I thought I'm just going to play along and find out what this guy wants. I just sat down in the chair, and he said, no, Mr. Fortescue has just sat down in that chair. You can't sit there, you'll have to sit on the floor. And Mr. Marmaduke is in the other chair, and Mr. Fortescue is in this chair. So you're going to have to sit on the floor. Otherwise we're all going to have to kill you. I thought, oh God, he's talking about killing me again. So he's obviously still on the scene. He's still seeing people that aren't there, unless they're ghosts. And so I thought, I'm not going to sit on the goddamn floor, so. And then he pulls out a gun. And he says, you will sit on the floor. Because Mr. Fortescue wants you to be on the floor. See, he feels as if he's above you, and he feels rather superior. He feels superior to most people, and he feels rather superior to you. So you must sit at Mr. Fortescue's feet. Otherwise, I'm going to have to shoot you with my gun. What's that? Mr. Marmaduke says I'm being very rude because I'm in somebody else's house. And I should really be respectful. Mr. Fortescue doesn't agree. He thinks I should do as I please. Because all three of us are rather superior people. And we really should do whatever we like in anybody's home and do as we wish. And I'm rather inclined to agree with Mr. Fortescue. So I want you to sit on the floor. So as this guy had a goddamn gun, I found myself with no choice but to sit on the floor. I thought, how did he find me? And I started thinking maybe they really are like spirits, and they're not imaginary friends. They're actually spirits that go around with him, influencing him. And then it started to freak me out, son. Or maybe they are imaginary friends and he just found me in the phone book. Either way, I don't know. Either way, I appear to be screwed again because there's some crazy nutcase with a gun on me in my bar, making me sit on the floor. And then he said, when last we met, you were supposed to give me some plans so that I could go to a meeting and hand over the object. But the plans you provided weren't the real plans. They were obviously fake. And the whole meeting was disrupted. I wasn't able to hand over the object as I wanted. And you have caused me a lot of trouble. And my people, they're very angry with me. Because I ruined the entire cause. And I said, what are you talking about, son? I said, what goddamn cause? And what goddamn object? I don't know what you're talking about. You're just goddamn insane, son. And then he looked at me and he said, you're being very, very rude. And I don't know why you're pretending you don't know what I'm talking about. I mean, you were sent to deliver the plans. And I said, no, I wasn't, son. I wasn't sent by goddamn no one. I don't know who you are. I don't even know your name, son. And I don't know what the hell kind of game you're playing here. And then he just looked at me and said, no, I'm not playing a game. You're the one who plays games. You constantly keep up this charade that you don't know the kind of business we're all in. And I find it very tiring. And so does Mr. Fortescue. And Mr. Fortescue says you should be punished. And he said we should really take over your bar and make it ours. And it should be named after Mr. Fortescue himself. And I'm rather inclined to agree. Mr. Fortescue does have rather excellent plans and ideas, and I rather think he is right about this. Mr. Marmaduke, he disagrees. He thinks the bar should be named after him. And Mr. Fortescue wants it to be called Fortescue's Place. And Mr. Marmaduke wants it to be called Marmaduke's Travelling Inn. I don't know why he wants to call it that. They're both in agreement that the bar should not be named after me myself, because I must keep my identity secret. They're starting to argue now. They're in such a disagreement. They both want the name. They both want the bar named after themselves. They're starting to fight now. It's starting to become rather violent now. Their altercation, and they're beginning to slap each other. They never use their fists. They always slap each other in the face. And Mr. Fortescue thinks that he's superior to Mr. Marmaduke. And Mr. Marmaduke thinks that he's superior to Mr. Fortescue. And they're going to have a duel. They're going to have a gentleman's duel to decide which one will own your bar. We're going to have to go into your garden so they can have the gentleman's duel. So I found myself getting up off the floor and going with this crazy nut into my garden with his imaginary friends or ghosts, whatever the hell they are, so they can have some kind of duel. Pistols are done, or swords, I don't know. I gotta find some way to get rid of him and them. So I asked this guy what weapons they're gonna use to fight, and he told me they're gonna use pistols, old-fashioned centuries-old pistols. So I thought, okay, I'll play along for now. And I stood there, and the crazy guy, he was having a conversation with both of them, and he was pointing where they should stand, and then he said, You'd better stand out of the way, otherwise you're going to get shot. It's best that you stand to the side while they have their duel. And then we'll decide who's going to own your bar and who the bar will be named after. At first they were going to let me own the bar, but they've decided that they're better suited to running it than I, and I'm rather inclined to agree with them. Oh, it's starting. It's starting. Oh, Mr. Fortescue has fired too soon. Oh. And he didn't wait for Mr. Marmaduke to walk 10 paces. Oh, that's very bad form. I didn't think Mr. Fortescue would do something like that. That's very, very bad form of Mr. Fortescue. I think he may have forfeit the entire duel. I'm very disappointed. Mr. Marmaduke is very angry, but he accepts the forfeit. And Mr. Marmaduke now owns your bar. It's going to be called Marmaduke's Travelling Inn. And he's going to take over right now, and you're going to have to leave. I said, son, I'm not leaving this bar. This is my bar. It's my goddamn bar. And your imaginary friend's not going to run my bar and kick me out. You crazy British nut. Mr. Marmaduke has decided that you may stay on as his employee, and you may clean his floor. And Mr. Fortescue agrees, and he said it's very fitting for a person such as yourself to have your business taken away and become a servant yourself. And he's suggesting to Mr. Marmaduke that you sleep on the floor next to the fireside. I thought some bitch walks into my bar and he decides his imaginary friend is going to take over my bar and make me his cleaner. Either this is some kind of really elaborate, twisted scam, or the guy is insane. Just as I was about to challenge the son bitch, my horse came running out of the stable, and he just knocked the British guy on his ass, which I found kind of amusing. And he hit his head as he went down, and he was out cold. And my horse just picked the guy up in his teeth. He just got hold of the back of this guy's jacket, and he just dragged this guy all the way through my bar, out into the street, and he took him down the street, and he put him inside the dumpster. I never seen a horse do that before. My horse is a little bit different to other horses. And he just came back inside, and I just gave my horse some whiskey, and which he liked. And he went back into his stable and went to sleep.